All right, hello everybody, and welcome back to another week of Brews and Belters podcast. Excuse me, I'm drunk already. This is episode number 3. Uh, so a little bit of admin news. We're working on our website still, getting and working on getting the pod on all major streaming platforms. But for now, you can find us on YouTube by searching Brews and Belters with the and sign, not spelled out. Also, we're on Twitter and Instagram at Brews and Belters, and is spelled out in that scenario. We've got some good content we're excited to share, but we don't want to burn that content while we've got 7, 8 followers. So go ahead and give us a follow so you can see those gems. I am Keegan Gowitz. I am here tonight with
Jack Butler
and Toby Heenefeld.
Excellent. What's going on, boys? What you drinking tonight, Jack?
Tonight, I have it's from Company Brewing, which is brewed here in Milwaukee. Their Smash Ale 2020, which was brewed in collaboration with our independent radio station, WMSE. Big shout out, Drew from WMSE helped brew this. He does the Pound Cake Punk morning show, which is my favorite show on WMSE. So that is what I am drinking here this fine evening.
Excellent. Tobes, what you sipping on?
California favorite that's brewed in Chicago now. It's a Lagunitas Little Sumpin' Ale. IPA, really smooth, not sure on the alcohol content. But yeah, it's a awesome one. So what about you, Keegs?
I'm sipping on a hazy IPA from Galena Brewing Company. I actually went up there. My fiance got us a little cabin up in Galena, and we went and shredded some slopes on New Year's Eve. And I picked up a couple growlers. I got Miners, which is an amber ale from there, which was delicious. I already finished that growler, so didn't save any for the pod. But the hazy IPA is really good. And then I've also got a little personal news I shared last week. I'll be moving up to Milwaukee, got a new job up there, and I was scoping out a place and saw 2 places on Saturday. Ended up going with the first one, but the second one, the owners lived upstairs, and one of them works at Surly Brewing Co. And I was walking out, she was just like, "Hey, here's a 6-pack," and gave it to me. So shout out to her. I will not be living in her apartment, but really awesome person. And she gave me a extra Citra Pale Ale, which is a 4.5. Pretty tasty. I had one the other night.
Welcome to Milwaukee. Here's some beer.
Can't wait. Yep. Good people. Anyway, tonight there's Brendan with the sound effect. Yeah, shout out to Brendan. Introduce yourself to the people, Brendan. What you going with tonight? All right, and there's Brendan Butler on the 1s and 2s. So tonight we're going to be talking, as usual, a few big Premier League matches. We'll go through Chelsea City, Tottenham, Leeds, West Ham, Everton, then United and Villa. Talk a little bit about Liverpool, and then run through the rest of the league. Jack's going to lead us in a discussion about the Old Firm Derby, and then we're going to touch on Bundesliga and Serie A just a bit before we get into the rumor mill with this January transfer window. And then we're going to run through a couple FA Cup matches worth watching. We'll move on to our cheers and boos and then our belters of the week. So let's kick it off with the game of the weekend, or what should have been the game of the weekend. Chelsea versus City. Tobes, what you got about that match?
I'm going to have all of us pipe in on this one because I actually watched this with you, Keegs. And yeah, I was expecting a nice showing, and it was not that whatsoever. Chelsea is continually just riding their bike in mud. They're not doing what they're supposed to be. And yeah, City pumped them 3-1, and that one goal, I mean, that was kind of just like a given at the end. Yeah, Gundogan best German in Premier League football, taking on the two up-and-coming Germans in Premier League for Chelsea, Kai Havertz and Timo Werner. Both of them aren't doing anything for that team right now. Phil Foden and Kevin De Bruyne keep the same system in place. It seems like every week Chelsea has a different starting 11 out there, and there's really no cohesiveness. So, what do you think, Keegs?
Yeah, last week, 2 weeks ago, sorry, we compared them a bit to Arsenal, where they seem to lack a purpose, especially going forward. They don't seem to have, they're a team with talent, but not really any identity right now. And it seems like each week, like you mentioned, they go out with a little bit of a different lineup, and with that, a little bit different roles for each player, and tactically, just they don't look like they have an identity. And I think there's a handful of teams in the Premier League like that this season. I mean, there've been a few Liverpool matches where I've asked what our identity is, if we're still that counter attacking or that high pressing, quick pacey team who can beat you on a counter attack, who's going to keep a clean sheet. And City just don't seem to have an identity, and I think it stems from not really having that guy on the pitch. They don't have that guy. I think right now Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi are really their bright spots. And then I think Giroud could be that guy, but he got hot, and then all of a sudden he's not playing anymore. It's just kind of confusing, and I don't know what it's like in that locker room. So I can't go too far into Lampard's situation, but he's got to do something. He's got to change something, whether that's bringing in all the young guys. I think surrounding Giroud with the young guys, kind of like you mentioned, Toby. Maybe take Werner out, put Giroud in, bring Werner in later on. 70th minute, 65th minute. Let him use his speed later in the match, be an option. But that's something that Arteta did. He's given the young guys a chance to kind of light a fire under everybody else's ass, and it seems to be working these last couple weeks. So,
but so two things that stuck out to me when I started this game. I didn't see the lineup beforehand, so when I turned it on and the match was about to kick, and Zach Steffen was starting for City, I got so excited to be like, there are two Americans that are starting for Manchester City and Chelsea. Like, as a neutral before the game, like that was right when kickoff happened. I got so excited.
oh yeah,
like Zach Steffen had a little bit of a hiccup there in the beginning. I was like, oh shit, it's gonna be a little bit of a rough go for him. And also, like the first 20 minutes, Chelsea was pressing. Pulisic was finding places, and Pulisic was lively in that first 20 minutes. But I think that Lampard kind of fell into a bit of a trap. Then in the first 20 minutes, City was sitting pretty far back, and the counter De Bruyne's touches were so quick. It was
perfect.
It was unreal to see how fast their counters were. And then it just changed the game. So that first 20 minutes, Chelsea's on the front foot, City sitting back, but with quick turnaround. And then after that, it was reversed. And I thought Chelsea looked like trash in the back. They could not. I mean, that's not just me taking a hot take. That was obviously that was there for everyone to see.
All over the pitch.
Didn't know what they were doing, but it was just one. As a neutral, I was so excited to see two Americans going at it. But I also think that Pep had everybody like. That's what we were talking about. City being a contender, even though they were sitting at eighth at the start of that game. But you saw why, like they are the real deal when everything is turning on.
Yeah.
And that's without Aguero still. Like that's anyway, but De Bruyne, the counterattack was so quick, and then it was lights out once they turned it on from there.
I was going to say,
you mentioned his speed in the midfield. I mean, his ability to receive a ball facing his own goal and pivot while receiving it and then touch it exactly to where his right foot needs to be and know exactly where he's going to put the ball. I mean, he turns, has a touch, and plays it with his second touch in the blink of an eye, and it's a perfect ball every time. It's so deadly. Go ahead, Tobes.
Well, with that win, I mean, it really put the Premier League on notice as well. I mean, they're right now, I think they're favorites by like 60. They have like a 60 to 70% odds of winning the Premier League this year, like if you're betting. And then, I mean, the main thing that I noticed, Aguero, yeah, he wasn't in, but they are pretty well healthy right now. You know, I think they had Kyle Walker-Peters out with COVID. But as a whole, like that's it. It's the COVID. It's not necessarily the hamstrings or the ankle injuries that they had. Like at one point, they had 7 or 8 guys, starters out, you know, and so they're all back. And yeah, look out, here comes City, which is just what we need. So.
Mm-hmm.
But I have not been as harsh though on Timo Werner. I know that he's been getting a lot of flack, but he wasn't getting anything though. He wasn't getting any feeds. There was no crosses coming into him. And the thing that when you were watching him, he stayed high. So he was waiting for distribution to come to him, and it just never came. He didn't really come back to try to find the game. And maybe that's a critique on him. Like maybe he should have fell back a little bit to try to get himself inserted in possession. But I don't know if Frank told him to stay high and try to get the ball to him. I think it's been a little harsh for that specific game. You put that together with his run of form over the last really since this whole season. Like I get it, but I don't know. I think in that game, I don't put it all on him.
Oh yeah, and I think that's a good point because his run of form prior to that had been kind of off and on, inconsistent, and he hadn't scored in I think it was 10 or 11 matches or something like that. But it is really harsh to put it all on him because they were terrible against City. City beat them to every 50-50. I mean, literally no one on the pitch for Chelsea looked like they wanted to be there with the exception really of Pulisic, Hudson-Odoi, and actually I'll give Werner a little bit of credit there where he was moving around. He was getting forward. He was, trying to get open for service for the most part. It just wasn't there. There was no creativity. Not only weren't their balls in, but there was no 1-2 play up top. I mean, they were as sluggish and uninterested as you could possibly be.
Yes.
It's like they knew that class seeped out of City, like you mentioned. They showed like, yeah, we may be in 8th, but we're still City. And Chelsea didn't respond to that at all. They just said they tucked their tail and they're like, oh fuck, you are City. All right, we're done. And that was that.
So I tweeted out at halftime how many tables is Frank flipping right now at halftime, and the answer was not enough because their second half, no one looked up for it. Like there was no life to them. They score Hudson-Odoi, right? Like he gets the one goal just to at least make it somewhat of a showing, but they were outmatched the whole time, and there's no one looked up for it. Like that's the thing that's probably scary for Frank and his job is we spend all this money and it doesn't appear that you're getting anything out of anybody right now.
Yeah, Frankie they ruined my wife's quiche. She made a splendid quiche on Sunday. Ruined by that performance. So
No, it was still pretty damn good. But yeah, so that is why not to be too harsh on Timo, but that is why I would kind of like to see Giroud put in just to mix something up, just to just do something with the lineup, just throw some different pieces in, see if it lights a fire under somebody because Arsenal kind of did that with the young guys and it seems to have worked so far. So also I've harped on how bad Chelsea were. I just want to shout out how good City were. Kevin De Bruyne was unbelievable. Ilkay Gundogan's first goal to start it off, immaculate little, just the slightest touch with his right foot between his legs, and then didn't even look up, knew exactly where the goal was, hit it with his right foot and bent it right into the bottom right corner. Phil Foden played really well. Sterling set some things up. He can't grab a goal, but he can set one or two up. I mean, they looked really, really good. So props to them. Let's move on though, unless you guys got any little tidbits you want to add. Good. All right, Tottenham Leeds. Tobes, I'm gonna kick this one off to you again.
All right, guys. Yeah, Tottenham Leeds. The scoreline I love, but I was not expecting. I'm not gonna lie, I was just as nervous for Tottenham to face Leeds as I was them to face Liverpool. Just because Leeds is literally a bunch of like buzzing crackheads on the field. Like they're all over the place. They're just I don't even know how to like I've never seen that intensity in the Premier League, like for all phases. Like they're fine giving up goals. Like they're like, oh, we'll give up 3 goals, but we'll score 4. That's like their style. It's kind of like reminds me of basketball. You just run and shoot threes right now in the NBA. That's like how they play. And I love it. It's super entertaining. But yeah, I think they ran into the Spurs that finally had a fire under their ass. Jose's finally got the right system in place with the correct people playing. We're healthy. There's really no big issues right now. And so I love the lineup that he had out there. And I mean, and then also compared to some of the weeks or previous games throughout the last couple weeks, the main guys stood up and they took accountability for it. Bergwijn, who I've been kind of harping on, but I continually forget he's still young and he's produced about the same amount of output as Heung-min Son. I'm not going to say he's going to have that much output 4 years from now, but and he's barely been on the club, for less than a year or so. And so there's a lot going on with him, but he was able to draw a PK. Kane took it, went right down the center, and it was 1-0 early, and then that kind of took the sails out of Leeds for a little bit, but then they just kept pumping it, and then they went down 2-0 on a phenomenal pass from Harry Kane to Heung-min Son, and their 1-1 combination, I mean, it's literally becoming historic. They're starting to create records and break them.
Yeah.
And then the last goal was by Toby Alderweireld in the second half, and it was early on. I want to say it was in like the 50th minute. And what was funny is they were up 3-0, but I never felt like Leeds was out of it. Like they continually kept with what they were doing and they never changed, which credit to them. Like that takes a lot of guts not to park the bus and just try not to, open up the floodgates, but they continually pushed. And they actually had some opportunities, especially in the first half. Like I mean, before Kane even had that PK, they were pushing them. And Tottenham was on the back heels at the beginning. So Kane had 1 assist, 1 goal that game, and Sonny with his goal got his 100th for Tottenham. So just I wrote down a few little stats. So in the Premier League this year, Kane has 11 assists and 10 goals, and Son has 5 assists, 12 goals. And then in all competition this year, Kane has 14 assists, 17 goals, and Son has 8 assists, 16 goals. So that's 55 points between just the two of them this year, which that's remarkable. They played today actually against Brentford, and they won that too. So, and they looked good. They're going to rely on Serge Aurier because Matt Doherty got a red card. He got a second yellow in the 92nd minute. So that's going to really hinder them because that's like the one position they're kind of weak at is that right back position. So I see that kind of coming to the forefront. Yeah, they looked good, and they're back in it. They're number 4 in the league right now. I think they're 3 points or 4 points back of Liverpool at number 1. And yeah, don't look away. Here they come. So
Yeah, 4 points behind Liverpool and United right now. 3 points behind Leicester. And yeah, like you said, they had grown a little bit stale for a couple weeks, but Jose's got them back purring again. So it's dangerous for the rest of the league. We'll move on now. West Ham 1, Everton 0. Jack, go ahead and lead us in that discussion.
There was a commentator that said that Everton got out Evertoned that game by West Ham, which I think is a perfect description. Oh, a perfect description. I watched that. So there's two things. Like if you look at the stats, right? Like Everton have more possession, more passes completed, everything that you would think that that would lead to at least more chances. But what West Ham looked, their structure was so good, right? Like this is a David Moyes team. Like Everton knows what a David Moyes team is. It's well structured, it's well positioned, and it's hard to break down. And when it comes down to what Everton lacks creativity, right? James didn't start. He got a calf or whatever is wrong with him.
Yep.
He comes in as a sub in like the 70th or something, but we don't have the talent. We just don't have the squad to be able to break teams down when they do that. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
The outcome wasn't surprising to me at all. We concede in the 86th minute. I was hoping that we could just at least get a point out of there. But again, like we're looking for subs that come on. We're thinking that Jake Toaston is going to come in and make if that's our difference maker coming off the bench. Like we don't the pipe dream to think that we're going to be top 4, you know. So that's where it's at. We lose 1-0. Frustrating. It's a project. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Yeah,
it's a project.
Absolutely.
And we lacked creativity.
Yeah. Next year you'll have an improvement where Cenk Tosin is, which really I thought back when he was, I believe I want to say he was with Roma. God, I'm forgetting who he was with before Everton, but I thought he was going to be a pretty decent winger actually. But yeah, he hasn't been much for you guys, and I think you're exactly right, and you have the right mindset as a fan. As like Everton have taken a big step forward, and I think it is a project, and I think they've got the pieces in place, and really it comes to depth because, like you mentioned, you can't just kick one out to a winger and hope that he gets it into DCL every time. If that's not working that match, you gotta look for some creativity up the middle. And if Allen and James aren't there, you're just not going to get it right now. And that comes with depth.
And this is perspective too. If you would have told me that, come the new year after the festive season that we had the same amount of points as Man City, I'd fucking take it every day of the week. So there's also perspective of what we knew this year was probably going to be. We knew we didn't have the squad that was seriously going to contend. For at the beginning of the season when there was some crazy people saying that we were going to win the league. We're hoping to get a top 6 finish, which I still think we can because we have one of the best managers in the world. So we'll just have to see what happens, but just the squad depth. But yeah, that's the perspective that fans, as an Everton fan, I have to keep in perspective and be like, I'm happy with that.
So Jack, with the value, some of the value rankings coming out, they had Moise Kean, who's on loan with PSG at 30 million. Do you think Everton would take that money? And do you think they would try and bring him back at that value price?
I mean, I think they should probably. Well, it depends on what the system is. Like maybe Carlo's wanting to play 2 up front. If you got DCL and Moise Kean up front, that could be a thing. Or maybe he's planning on keeping the system that we have now, where we're pretty much just playing DCL up front, and you got Richarlison playing more in the wing spot. Otherwise, you take that 30 million. I mean, and you just go and rebuild in other places. The thing is with Everton is that we could take, if you're getting Ben Godfrey for 22 million and you actually got a solid guy that's going to take like a real role there, maybe you just reinvest that 30 million somewhere else since you have DCL up front. So if it's me, you take the money and you sell him off to PSG. But if he wants to keep him and try to play two up front, like that's a pretty deadly combo with what Moise Keane is doing over at PSG.
Yeah, no, go ahead, Keeks.
I was just gonna say I love to see Moise Keane thriving, and I just knew that he would at PSG. As I mentioned in the group chat, just not enough players with dyed hair at Everton, not enough Instagram clout at Everton. PSG is really more his vibe. So
we have Fabian Delph, who unfortunately Fabian Delph's social media primarily is just like is getting in fights with Everton fans. So that's like the most that we got right now.
Speaking of Instagram though, so James was taking a corner kick and Sarah, like my wife, was like, I don't even know what she was doing down in the basement, but she like looked over and she's like, that is a great looking man. And I'm like, we've all been saying this, Sarah. Yes, of course. He's like number 6 on Instagram for athletes. So
yeah, but
that's Everton. I agree. We got out Evertoned by West Ham.
Yeah. I think it's a project. I also would take the money, just to throw my 2 cents in there. I think you pick up a winger. I don't think Moise is a winger. I think he's a striker. But yeah, another Hammers win, another Souček goal. West Ham's played decent this year. Souček, I think I brought him up last week.
I like him.
Yeah, man, he's having a year. He's got, I think that was his 6th goal. They've been scoring a lot off of set pieces, but this goal was after a shot had been put on from Cresswell. It was deflected very quickly back to Souček, who was only like 6-7 yards out. And he did really well to get a clean touch on it and put it away. And it wasn't just like the ball hit my foot and deflected into goal. Like he hit the ball really well and really controlled. It was a nice finish. And actually, like 2 seconds before that, he put a really a good shot on goal, powerful shot off of Ali from close in, and that's what deflected out to Cresswell for his shot. So, yeah, he's looked great.
I just wish their coach would wear big, thick, black framed glasses because he looks like Bricktop from Snatch, a Guy Ritchie movie. He looks just like him. I'm going to continually say it over and over. He looks like Bricktop. Like, it is what it is.
Lyndon, I don't know if you have the ability or know how to pull that up really quick, but if we could get Bricktop from Snatch on your screen, that'd be great. If not, no big deal. We'll move on now to United versus Villa. I actually, unfortunately, didn't get to catch this, but I did see that Bertrand's Traore is staying hot, and he had another goal. But United come out on top. Tobes, I know you had some notes on this match.
Yeah, so I love shitting on him at the start of the year, but United's coming on strong, and they finally, I think, got the system down with the midfield. Like, sticking McTominay, Pogba, having those guys out there. And then, honestly, I thought he has been pretty non-existent, but Anthony Martial has been looking pretty good the past couple weeks with that 4-4-2 that they've been playing with him and Rashford up front, and then having Greenwood come off the bench for a quick spark. Like, it's been working for him. It doesn't hurt that Bruno Fernandes he's been probably, besides Kevin De Bruyne, I would even put him ahead of Kane right now. He's been phenomenal for that team. Like, without that player, that team I don't think is anything right now. I would say they're probably a 6th or 7th best. Like, he is that good for them. A few other small things I noticed. Those black jerseys that Villa wear, those are the freshest black jerseys that any team wears in the Premier League. I like them better than Chelsea's Nike jerseys. That Kappa black is just phenomenal. I truly believe United is real, and with seeing Villa where they're at, they were top of the table for a few days. Honestly, I don't think the best they're ever going to be is at most probably a 7, maybe a 6 in the standings. So, do you sell Jack Grealish for, I would assume, around 100 million, and you could buy 3 good players? I truly believe he's worth like at least 70 to 110 million. I don't know the exact market value. I'd have to check that. But
he's valued right now. He's valued right now at 100 million pounds. Sorry to interrupt.
Exactly. So with that, they could put like 3 good players. They could not necessarily replace him. It's such a feel good story because he's grown up in that academy and he's from that area, so that was like his hometown team growing up. But I mean, he's destined for like United. Like that's where he's probably gonna go, is Man United. So
just mentioning Traore, because Traore came from Leon.
Leon, yeah.
I don't know if you guys caught this story. There's actually a really good article in The Guardian that Liga 1 is really struggling now with finances with this collapse of Media Pro, which was their TV deal that ended up going away. And so the speculation is, with this TV deal going haywire, that Liga is probably going to be selling a lot of talent come January and come the summer. I know we'll definitely be talking about the transfer market in later podcasts in more detail. But anyway, just something to look into is this Media Pro was the name of the company that had some TV rights, multi-million-dollar TV rights that fell through, and Liga and a lot of clubs put on COVID on top of it are really financially struggling. Probably going to be looking to sell some talent. And when you honestly, I didn't realize how much talent has been coming from the French league, which is really, really impressive. So something to keep our eye on.
So much talent just coming out of France right now, and a lot of those French internationals start out obviously in clubs there and through their youth system. But that's an interesting note, Jack, and I would be interested to see. I would love to see ESPN scoop that up and get League going on ESPN Plus and get a deal with them.
Yeah, dude. BN is that's a whole other topic. I mean, there's a reason why we don't talk about La Liga is because no one watches it because it's on BN. And who the hell gets access to BN?
Yeah.
But same with Liga On.
Brendan, can you give me a sound effect here? All right, never mind. So United Villa. I don't want to jump ahead too much, but there's some transfer rumors that I'll probably mention Villa again. Not that I know of any rumors that involve them, but just some hopes. But we'll move on. Let's talk about very briefly the state of Liverpool. 1-0 loss to Southampton. Southampton's a solid team, so I'm not really incredibly worried about that result. So much as the performance. And again, I'm not going to reiterate too much of what I said last week, but early goal from Ings, really cheeky finish. Shout out to Danny Ings. I'll always give him his credit. I love him. Yeah, exactly, Toby. He was great with Liverpool. There just wasn't any room for him in the side at the time. I was really happy. I was sad to see him go, but happy to see him, move on to a team where he could get his playing time. And a clever little ball from Ward-Prowse, who I know you love, Tobes.
Danny Ings could be like a Disney feel-good story, like his story, like how he's been injured so much, and coming from like the depths of the darkness back into Premier League stardom and he's back on Team England. Like, I like that guy a lot. He's a stud finisher.
He's the next best thing. Brews and Belters. Feel good story.
I'll get him. I'll give him a call. We'll get him an interview.
Yeah, we're looking to get bought out by Disney, like all good franchises.
So Liverpool,
But
after the last 3 games, where are they at in the standings?
they're still tied for first, but United have a game in hand, so United will likely pass them up. I actually have to look at the schedule and see who United have next, but really my big takeaway from it is I'm not going to harp too much on it, but last week they drew with West Brom, and I mentioned the goal they conceded. It was a corner that West Brom took shortly. The player who received it took with his first touch, sent it back to the corner taker. He sent in a cross first time, and Liverpool just got caught out, and they didn't expect that cross to come in first time. They thought they had a minute to get their line settled and regroup. They didn't, and this was kind of like that. It was sort of a weird set piece where it wasn't like a direct, long, well-driven ball in. It was sort of chipped, and it was towards the near post, and they just kind of caught him off guard. Trent Alexander-Arnold made a poor judgment play and sort of an awkward jump towards the ball and didn't receive it. Go ahead, Toby.
He's been playing okay recently, but that game specifically, I read that he had 37 missed dribbles, or 37 times that he was taken off on his dribble, and that's the league leader so far this year for a game. So he had just a bad game all around, and it was probably microcosmed in the second minute when Danny Ings, he lost track of him. So
good. That's a good stat, and really, he's been critiqued quite a bit since he came back from his leg injury. Just defending, he hasn't been great. His service against Southampton wasn't great. So he's received a lot of criticism from Liverpool fans. But just again, it's a set piece, and that's where we've got 2 midfielders playing as center backs against Southampton, against a strong attack. We've got Jordan Henderson, who never plays there, and Fabinho, who's played there most of this season because he's filling in. And here's the, where that comes back to haunt you is I feel comfortable with Jordan Henderson defending. I feel comfortable with him one-on-one, a player coming at him. I feel comfortable with him being physical and making the right, stepping in at the right time. Same with Fabinho, who's an incredible defender. But this is where the positioning comes into play, is on set pieces. It's thinking and moving differently. It's knowing where the ball is going to come in from. And obviously these are professionals, they know that, but they're playing out of position. And these set pieces where you have, teams have routines set up, that's where you get burnt when you're playing out of position. And it's happened 2 matches in a row. It's happened to him. So really that's why we miss Van Dijk so much. And I don't want to harp on it too much, but he's arguably the greatest defender on the planet right now. Jack smirking. And he's just the leader. He keeps that back line in check. And also on our set pieces offensively, he's a huge presence. So, Jack, you got something to say?
Nope.
Jack is just going to say that wasn't a foul. That's all he's going to say.
No, it's, I mean, like, I don't know. But it's true. I mean, there's no doubt that Van Dijk is incredibly crucial to any team, like whether or not it's Liverpool, but
Jack's in the boat with Jose Mourinho, where he said, "Oh, they have injuries. What about Arnold? What about Sane? What about Mo Salah?"
And Klopp arguing, talking about the schedule. Everton played twice the amount of games in the same period as Liverpool, and yeah, I mean, anyway, just I mean, injuries happen. I'm not trying to say that doesn't suck, because it does suck whenever there's injuries, but when you've got a roster that's as valuable as Liverpool's, it's not an excuse.
Yeah. Everyone's dealing with the same thing. Also, he brought up United's. I mean, I love Klopp as a Liverpool supporter. I love Klopp, but sometimes when he does stuff like that, like bringing up United, which I mean, United. Everyone who follows soccer, that's a meme. Yeah, United gets a fuck ton of penalties. But to bring that up when you're frustrated about a 1-0 loss, I was a little put off by that, and I'm like, come on, man, we played like shit. we have guys out of position. I get it. Like I get being frustrated, but chalk it up to that. Like I don't know. That was just a little bit frustrating to me to be like, man, you're an incredible manager. I have a ton of respect for you, but like, just save it. Like, save the comment just this 1 week. Like, leave Manchester United out of this shit after we didn't get a penalty. Like we've gotten plenty of them. But yeah,
they didn't have to pull Jake Tosin off the bench to try to be your game changer. Like you guys got, you know what I mean? Like, stop complaining. Yeah. Like Allen goes down, and we got Tom fucking Davies. Like, come on. Nothing against Tom. I love Tom, but it's not comparable.
Yeah, frustrating weekend though. Let's just go ahead and move on from the Liverpool talk. Rest of the league: Palace 2, Sheffield 0. Ebereki Eze with a great solo goal. To be fair, pretty lazy defending from Sheffield. Really, looked like even Eze was kind of like he was sort of like gliding with the ball, but not like insanely quickly or anything. He was just kind of coasting around, almost looking for a pass. And he was like, "Fuck it! If no one's gonna close me down, I'll just keep going with it." He had beat one defender immediately after retaining possession, and then was just kind of coasting, and then beat one more defender. And it looked like he was going to take on a third. And right as he got into the 18, he just kind of slotted one pass, really unexpectedly. Slotted one pass, tucked it into the bottom right corner. Really good finish, really good run. Really fucking good player. He's so sick. He's going to be really good. I'm interested to see where he may end up in the future. So they won 2-0. Brighton 3, Wolves 3. Brighton battled back in this one. They were down 3-1 at half. I actually watched that at the Three Lions pub in Milwaukee. Hopped in there and grabbed a table. There were like 3 people in that place. It was the late game. There was no one in there.
I didn't see that game, but that looked like game of the week just based on score line and when the goals were scored and everything. It looked like that was a 3-3. Why not?
Yeah. It actually was a thriller. It was a really good match, and I'm kind of upset with myself that I didn't take more notes on it to talk about it a bit more. But it was a really, really fun match to watch, actually. And Wolves are just kind of a weird team right now, as are most of the teams in the Premier League, just a little bit inconsistent. 1 week they'll wow you, the next week they let Brighton come back from 3-1 down. It's weird.
And this is Graham Potter, who I'm a fan of as a coach. It's just interesting that like you don't hear talks of him being on the hot seat. Like they're really dang close. So what are they, just like 2-3 points off of relegation? In Brighton,
that's where they live, dude.
but I mean, like, you bring Graham Potter, and the style that he plays is a pretty progressive style of soccer. You think of like if they're like scared to come in or like to go down, like those are the types of clubs that you think to bring in a Sam Allardyce type of guy to keep them in the league. But like they seem to be very committed to playing a prettier style, even if it means that they're gonna be fighting a relegation battle every year. It's just interesting. Like Brighton's approach to staying up, or do they? I mean, they definitely want to stay up, but is it going to be at the expense of playing some high flying ball?
Yeah, it's a good point. They're 3 points out of the relegation zone, 3 points above Fulham with 14, and Fulham have 11. So yeah, it's an interesting point to bring in. All Reliable is up next. Leicester 2-1 Newcastle. Leicester's the only team in England who continues to win the matches they should consistently. A long run from Harvey Barnes carrying the ball forward. Got it into Vardy. Got a little bit lucky with his first touch.
Looked like he nutmegged him.
Yeah, but it didn't seem like intentional. It seemed like a clumsy nutmeg that you like try to pass off. Is like, oh yeah, I meant to do that.
Meg's a
And
Meg
then,
on Sundays, bro.
and then he drops it back to Madison, who fucking buried one. Can't make a mistake from there, but he could have just tapped it in, and he said, "No, fuck it, I'm gonna launch this." Belted it into the net. So yeah, solid match. Leicester again. I mean, they just look consistent.
It's reminiscent though of when they won the league. Everyone else is dropping points, and Leicester just wins points and gets points that they're supposed to get. I don't think they're going to win the league, but I mean, crazier things have happened if the top clubs play this inconsistent and Leicester's steady Eddie.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, and their midfield looks good right now. Ndidi's back. Yuri Tielemans looks really good. James Madison obviously looks great. And then I mean, Vardy's Vardy. Defense looks pretty solid in the back. Yeah, I mean, really, in a season where everyone's extremely inconsistent, we're talking about United looking good now. Arsenal's looked better over these last 3 weeks, but it's just been so wishy-washy. Who's to say in 3 weeks we're not going to look back and be like, "Fuck, we actually thought United was a contender." I mean, it's just that kind of season where it feels like that team who has been consistent all year. Maybe who knows? Maybe they could pull it out. And that brings us to actually Arsenal 4-0 West Brom. Sensational goal from Tierney. Great touch to beat the defender. Good cut back to his right foot and buried the finish. Pretty easy finish shortly after for Saka, but a really good build up between him, Lacazette, and Smith Rowe. And then Lacazette ended up bagging two himself. And again, Arsenal, they've caught a little wave here and they look rejuvenated. It's West Brom,
Yes,
but
the young guns.
at the same time, West Brom drew with Liverpool, a week and some odd days ago. So yeah, like you said, Toby, it's those young guys, and Lacazette's really, really turned it up, being surrounded by that youth.
Mhm.
So I don't know. Arteta switched some things up, and it seems to have paid off so far.
That game was awesome, not even from the team standpoint, but just from the fact that it was a winter game. Like there was snow, they had guys out shoveling the lines during half. Like
yeah,
it was great. And then before we switch over real quick, I want to just let Jack know that big shout out to you. After the game, Arteta was quoted saying that Kieran Tierney can be Arsenal's captain in no time, is what he said. He's that high on his performance day in and day out. I guess he mentioned that like not only did he get on the score sheet this time, but like he is one person that he can depend on match after match, and not only match after match, but training session after training session with the practice. So that was you, Jack. 3 weeks ago, I remember you saying that.
Spoke it into existence.
Did it? I don't know. He's just the real deal. I mean, he kind of me and Tobias are hockey fans. He like reminds me of a Taves. He's just kind of a guy that does his job, and we're also both Blackhawks fans. So, a guy who does his job. He's a quiet leader, but like knows the right time when to push the buttons to get the people around him activated. So
yeah,
happy for Tierney.
Good way to put it. All right, so a little bit of table talk. I saved Arsenal for last to transition into this. Obviously, a great run of form from them over these past few weeks. They sit in 11th right now. But I think it's important to remember that that's only 6 points off from Tottenham in 4th. Right now, 4th to 7th place are all sitting at 29 points. 8 to 10 are all at 26. And then Arsenal and Leeds are creeping just behind them at 11 and 12 with 23 points each. With that being said, Tottenham, City, Southampton, and Everton are all even at 26 points, but City have only played 15 matches. Everton and Tottenham have played 16, and Southampton have played 17. Aston Villa is another club that's only played 15 matches, and they're even with Chelsea and West Ham at 26 points to round out 8, 9, 10. So with that, next week will be a big week, especially for Everton. We're taking on unpredictable Wolves, and Aston Villa, Tottenham will be a really big match, I think, for two teams kind of battling for that fourth to seventh place range. Yeah, it should be a good week. We got some midweek games coming up next week. They're taking the weekend off, so hopefully they'll get things under control over there with COVID, and we can watch some matches. But next, we're going to talk about the Old Firm Derby. Jack brought that up. I actually forgot that it was this past weekend. Jack brought that up, so Jack, go ahead and kick that off.
Yeah, a big match, not just because it's the Old Firm, but this is the 50th anniversary of the Ibrox disaster that saw 66 Rangers fans get killed. So there was a memorial of that before the game, and then also huge game for the table. Pretty much Celtic at least needed to draw to stay in to try to get their 10 in a row, which is so important to the fans of Celtic to be able to get that. And unfortunately, they didn't do it. So watching that match, Celtic was in pure possession, dominating the entire first half. It was and let alone that the commentating. I don't know if you watched it or if you did watch it, Keith. I thought the commentating was terrible. Personal perspective, I just thought there was too much talking, and they were talking about random stuff that wasn't the game. So I ended up having to mute it for a while.
I did go back. I did go back and watch it. And yeah, I mean, Celtic. It was a pretty unfair result. Rangers won 1-0. Celtic got a bit unlucky.
Well, but it's unlucky, but it shows how important it is that Celtic need to have at least 2 goals at the end of the first half. Like if you're gonna dominate a game like that, you gotta get goals. You gotta be able to put the ball in the back of the net, because shit happens in this game. So anyway, Celtic dominates, but then unfortunately, for Celtic fans, in the 63rd minute, Beaton literally just tackles Morales as he went around him and got a red card. I mean, I definitely understand the red card. It was beyond a professional foul. But it sucked and it changed the entire game. Yeah, I mean, he grabbed him by the hips and threw him down. So Rangers then go off and score, I believe, off a corner kick. I think in like the 70th minute or something like that.
Own goal. Own goal by McGregor. Unlucky.
Just wrong place, wrong time. And Celtic end up losing, and now they're like 19 points off of first place, and they have 3 games in hand. But that's a tall mountain to climb. Neil Lennon, I haven't checked. I assume Neil Lennon has got to be sacked here soon. Getting out of Europa League, not going to win the league. Since Brendan Rodgers has left, they just are not progressing. I personally don't understand why they appointed Neil Lennon if they were trying to make steps in Europe. Like Neil Lennon's just like not the guy for them to do that. It's stepping backwards from Brendan Rodgers. So anyway, it sucks. It sucks for anyway. It sucks for me. It sucks as a Celtic supporter. Sucks for me. Good for Rangers. Stevie Gerrard, if he can go and take Rangers from where they were at. So what this is Gerrard's 3rd year in charge of Rangers, I think. Second year. I mean, 3rd. Anyway, to be able to take them to where they were at, which is pretty much, from bankruptcy to winning the league, it's an impressive resume builder for him.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you said disappointing for you as a Celtic fan. Kind of disappointing to watch, honestly, because it was. I mean, I'm a neutral when it comes to Scottish Premier League, but Really, like, the highlight of this match was 3 or 4 saves that McGregor made for Rangers, because you mentioned, Celtic needed maybe 2 to go 2 goals up and really, uh, take the hope away from Rangers and make a statement in the first half, and McGregor kept them in the game with some incredible saves.
Yeah, he made
Uh,
some really nice ones.
Gr
Lee Griffiths, which
Dude,
uh, I exactly like he
he's got a rocket
really
attached to his left foot, man. I had no idea.
and to see where he's come so because he didn't play for like a year, had some off the field issues. Good to see him back, and anyway, like I was so excited to see it, but then when they go a man down and Lee Griffiths is the guy to come off, and then you expect Edouard to kind of pick up the pieces. Like Edouard's gonna run more, he's gonna be around the
Yeah,
pitch more, but he just didn't have what Griffiths was bringing. Griffiths was bringing heat, and yeah,
yeah.
that save that McGregor made was pretty impressive. And I thought Colin McGregor for Celtic did a really good job. I thought he was lively at least until he got subbed off. Um, like I said, they just need to put something in the back of the net. And
Yeah.
yeah, at this point, if Rangers lose it, it will be catastrophic. Like something abysmal would have had to happen to Rangers.
Yeah. Let's move on. We're right about an hour now, so we'll cruise through the other leagues pretty quick. We really just had a couple brief notes on Bundesliga. Dortmund won 2-0 over Wolfsburg. Highlighter unis only. Blacklight dance attire is on. Um, they were Wolfsburg was wearing the bright greens, and Dortmund was in their bright yellow.
Uh,
Nopes, I know you watched this
game
one.
Yeah, game took place Sunday. Two guys from the U.S. and I literally think John Brooks playing defense. He's probably Wolfsburg's one of their best players, and he's legit. Like he's good. I think he actually from my eye, he actually looked better than Gio Reyna did. I mean, Gio Reyna's like ceilings like up here, whereas John Brooks is like where I'm hanging out right now. But yeah, he played phenomenal. Like it was a lot of lot of good. He sets up the play, but he's just kind of controls everything through the center, being a center back. The person that stood out to me the most in that game was Akanji. He got the first goal for Dortmund, and that kid is a stud. I want to say he's like 25 or 26. I think he's from
Yeah.
Switzerland. He's good. Like I could see him a year or two from now going somewhere bigger. Yeah, he's got a lot going for him. Something that I tuned in because Reyna was playing. I really wanted to watch him. But I mean, right now there's two guys on the block for them, Erling Haaland, who finally came back, and he didn't really do anything. He looked good, he moved well, but he just didn't get on the score sheet. And then Jadon Sancho, I expected him to be kind of the sexy, the like most sexy free agent come this summer. And right now, he's not even
Yeah.
looking like he's a top 10 free agent right now. I think there's quite a few people that are ahead of him. I know he wants to go to England, but yeah, he didn't look very good, but he got on the score sheet in like the 92nd minute to put him up 2-0. It was a good game. Yeah, I don't watch a ton of Bundesliga, but that was one I definitely did watch. And you're right. It's just it's the Wild West over there, man. Like the style and system of playing is just different. I don't know how to describe it. Everything's neon, like it's all bright. Like there's like weird chants going all the time, and like
They're
beer.
just playing disco music in the background. It's European disco,
Yeah,
and they
yeah.
just go ball to the wall.
So
Yeah, yeah. You mentioned Holland. He put a couple shots, a couple powerful shots on target, but he hit him right at the keeper. Couldn't get. He looked a little bit frustrated to be subbed off. Um, but yeah, I thought Akanji looked really well as well. Looked really good as well. Wow. And then Sancho. Yeah, I'm curious to see what happens with him in the transfer window. He got a little bit lucky. He had a nice ball sent forward, and he looked like It looked smooth if he meant to do it, the little move that he put on the defender to beat him, to end up with a breakaway. But I'm not sure. It kind of looked like one of those like awkward moves where he may not have meant to do it, and the ball just kind of ended up at his foot, and he was like, "Oh, okay, I'm gonna roll with this." Either way, he bagged a goal, and that might do a little something for his to bring his transfer value kind of back closer to where it was.
Yeah.
Um, and then the other Bundesliga match that we'll discuss, Bayern 5-2 Mainz. Mainz was up 2-0 at half. And Bayern just have that different level about them. We mentioned earlier with City where that class is just kind of permanent. It's just sort of a part of who they are now. And that's the difference really with Bayern. Jack, did you have some notes about that?
I actually didn't know this. I did not get any Bundesliga in this week.
So
Maybe you did, Tobes. We watched a
when
little
I
bit of that.
caught that game,
More.
when I caught that game, it was 2-2, and I'm like, oh shit, a barn burner, Bayern Munich, this is awesome. And then Bayern just pumped them. Like Lewandowski got a PK and then just had like a little chipper, just right up the center. They're a freaking machine. Like I don't know how else to describe them. They are, in my opinion, the best team in the world right now by far.
German engineering,
They
baby.
have guys coming off the bench that are starters in teams. Like their talent and depth is so much higher, and they continually are adding to their pool. Like they got that Richardson from the U.S. that I mentioned like a week or two ago. Like they're getting a bunch of young talent, and then they stick them on the second team, and the second team's probably as good as some of the championship teams in England. So it's like it's just nuts what they're doing.
Yeah.
Before we switch off, I was so sad to not watch any Serie A this week. Like this is the first year that I have been more excited to watch Serie A than Bundesliga or anything else. Glad those good Italian Catholics get like this whole like time off for Christmas or whatever it is. But anyway, I was very sad to not get any Serie A. I'm really enjoying that league this year.
Well, I got some Lukaku stats for you, Keegs. Are we going to get into any of those?
Let's get into it. So I was going to say, Serie A, I got a few notes about that. A lot of goals scored this weekend. Go ahead, Tobes. What you got on Lukaku? We're going to start with Inter anyway. So
Inter Milan won 6-2 in their fixture. I've loved Romelu Lukaku since Everton. I think he played. Did he play at Chelsea too for like a drink of coffee? He was there pretty quick.
Yeah.
And then he was okay at United. He just never really fit in. But I mean, he's a phenomenal player in my opinion. And he got one goal in that game, but it was like a typical Lukaku goal. Like the ball is coming at him, and instead of chesting it and just like trapping it, he like got it on the half turn and pretty much fed himself and just burnt the dude. And then he's strong as hell and just like it was like a get off me kind of thing, and just like turned and 180 and was in on goal 1v1 with the defender trailing him. When the ball was coming in, the defender was behind him, and just like in a matter of a second, he was in front of the defender. It was phenomenal. His technical ability is amazing. But that goal was his 35th goal in 50 games, and then he's got 50 goals in 70 total all competition games, Europa, Champions League, and everything else. I mean, he's a beast of a player. Like right now, I think he's tied for most goals, or maybe one less goal, but he's like a leader. He's up there with Ibrahimovic and Ronaldo. So I just have nothing but respect for that guy. He's awesome.
He's been a machine since he joined Inter, and yeah, that turn that you mentioned was textbook Lukaku, man. I mean, he's bullying a guy. He's bullying a defender who, if go back and watch, if you're a Lukaku fan and you're listening to this, go back and watch that goal because it really is textbook Lukaku. This defender is doing everything he can to just fight him. Like it looks like LeBron James posting up a third grader. And while he's doing that to this defender, while he's just completely bodying him just with his back turned to him, his footwork and his technique is phenomenal while he's doing that.
Yeah, that defender I think was like that defender was like, "F it, I'll take a PK. Who cares?" Like
Yeah,
it was like
and he
one of
still
those like,
he still couldn't bring him down, and that's
yeah.
the thing. It's crazy to see a player that big and that physical and that strong have the touch and the grace that Lukaku shows sometimes. I mean, it's incredible. And then, next to him, you've got Lautaro Martinez, who's been incredible. I mean, that's one of the best duos I think in Europe to watch. And I've mentioned before on here that Muso Kwanga from Stadio podcast has mentioned how great of a trade it is for a striker partnership to be able to move really well without getting in each other's way, and they
Mhm.
really mesh so well together where they don't get in each other's way, they don't step on each other's toes. I mean, Lukaku set Martinez up at least once this match for his first goal, I think. Um, and yeah, I mean, Martinez ended up with a hat trick, and they ended up going top of the table by 2 points. But by the end of the day, AC Milan had reclaimed their spot with a 2-0 win over Benevento, thanks to a Frank Kessié penalty and a really clever goal from the 21-year-old Portugal international Rafael Leao. And he's got two in his last three. He was the one who scored a goal in like 6 seconds or whatever it was 2 weeks ago against. I'm struggling. Maybe
Mm,
Sassuolo. I think
that's
it was
what they
Sassuolo.
swallow. Yeah.
Um, so yeah, a lot of goals scored in Serie A this week. Toby, we had talked about Atalanta scored 5 against Sassuolo. They look so good when Ilicic is on the pitch. They're just that team. They're kind of the leads of Serie A, where they can beat a team 5-1, and then they can turn around and get beat 3-4-0, just depending on who's on for them and who's really playing well.
YOLO,
Um,
baby.
Yellow, yeah, yeah. Uh, Napoli 4-1 Cagliari. Zielinski looked really good. Two really nice goals. Joao Pedro for Cagliari scored their lone goal. He's having a phenomenal season. He's got 9 goals in 15 matches. Um, he's been a really bright spot for that team. Juve 4, Udinese 1. Ronaldo had 2 goals and an assist on Federico Chiesa's goal. Chiesa's a signing, for those who don't know, from Fiorentina. He's 22. He can play a little bit at anywhere, left mid, left winger, right winger. He can play center forward, but really talented and a really good piece to have up there with Ronaldo. I'm very very excited to see as the how those two do together, and I'm excited to see how Paulo Dybala kind of fits in with that too. He's no longer like the young star there. It'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean it's a new year, but it's the same Ronaldo. And then I've been noticing on Twitter, I catch like some of the games that I can, but Weston McKennie, I mean he's an everyday starter for them now. Like there's no way around it. Like he's literally on the roster every time they're playing a game. Like it's awesome to see. Like I would have never have guessed that. Like Jack, what you were saying, seeing Stefan and Pulisic, and then seeing Reyna and Brooks, and then seeing him, they all played in the same day. You know, that's awesome to think that like all those guys were playing for top talent. Like USA, like I want to go do the Pledge of Allegiance right now. Like I'm fired up.
Yeah.
maybe watch
Oh
maybe
shit.
watch Black Hawk Down. I don't know. Like who cares?
Yo. No, but really, not just playing for top teams, but playing for, Zach Steffen playing for a Pep Guardiola, Pulisic playing for a Lampard. Like, obviously Lampard hasn't been super impressive this year as a manager. No, I get that, but just somebody who's been there and done that and won everything there is to win
Yeah,
as a leader. Like even if he doesn't succeed as a manager, just being in that presence and sort of learning from that kind of character. And then you got Weston McKennie, who plays kind of a defensive mid, learning from Andre Pirlo, the best deep lying, playmaker of all time, arguably. I mean, it's not just playing in huge clubs, but playing for huge managers is a big thing. With that, we'll move on to our rumor mill.
So I got some quick ones. This one is pretty recent. I don't know how true it is, but Arsenal's looking to get rid of Mesut Ozil, and his most likely destination is the MLS. DC United, I guess, is the front runner for him, and that's as of today. And that's legit people saying that. So whatever that's worth, I don't know.
I don't know how
I could
how
see
did
it.
DC United get this money though? Because I mean they brought Rooney in, which costs money. You bring Ozil over, I just don't know how a team like DC United. I get how LA Galaxy, I mean, when they bring all their players over,
Yeah,
I'm just saying, I don't know how that works. I don't get how MLS works.
I felt like he hasn't played in like 3 years. I feel like, but I thought he still had stuff in the tank. You know, he signed like a $42 million deal like 5 years ago, and I felt like he still has some stuff going for him. So I don't know if this is gonna be like Ibrahimovic, where he just signs like a 1 year season contract, and then he like gets his feet back. He pretty much treats as conditioning, and then he goes back over. I could see him playing in the Bundesliga at least. You know, maybe he doesn't like Germany anymore, so maybe he'd go to like Spain or somewhere. I don't know, but
Oh man, I could. So Arsenal have really like blacklisted him, and he's just kind of disappeared. So I would be interested to see if the skill set's still there, how long it takes for kind of the pace of the game to come back to him. But I mean, he's 32, and at one point, he was the best center attacking mid in the world, probably. I mean, probably the best passer of the ball in the world when he was with Real Madrid, and then when he came to Arsenal. And so I would love to see him go to Spain. I'd love to see him do a David Silva and go to a Real Sociedad or a Real Betis or a Sevilla. I could be really, really interesting potentially. I would also be interested to see him go to the Bundesliga, being a German guy. But I think it would be cool to see him in the MLS. I think he'd fit in well. I think he'd be a fan favorite. Seems like a pretty likable guy. I don't know. That's interesting though.
So, Jack, piggybacking off of what you said about Leon, Memphis Depay, he's pretty much on the outs there, and he's a good player still. And there's a lot of teams in Spain. It's mostly Spanish teams that are being looked at, that he's being looked at for. So that would be one. I think that'd be good for anyone. And then the other. Go ahead, Keeks. What?
Barcelona being the top of that list?
Mm-hmm.
No? Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. So, and these are all. This other one is another. So, David Alba. Is it David? Is it David?
David Alba.
Okay, so Alaba. So he's being linked to Liverpool and Real Madrid. There's a couple other teams, but those are the two big ones. Leaving. I think he's at Bayern Munich right now, if I remember right. So that's another one. Those are like the three that are being talked about, that they're on the block, but we just don't know where yet. But those are the teams that are most likely gonna be in the running for him. So, go ahead, Jay.
I was gonna my 2 cents is like I really don't follow the January transfer window, because I think for the most part it's agents that are just trying to get hype about their players.
Oh, you're absolutely right. And I don't think
it's players that are getting players that are getting rid of because they're not fitting clubs, and there's clubs that didn't get good. They didn't get their business done in the summer, so they're gonna pay overpriced fees in January. A perfect example of that just got linked today was that Eriksson got linked to come to Everton today, and I was like, that makes no sense. That makes no sense to me. Like, why would we need another Sigurdsson to come in, and it's just a slow midfield that's like a slow midfielder that is a PK, or not a PK, but just like what's that called? The set piece
specialist.
Like, makes no sense to me. So it's like that's obviously just something that's a rumor that that his agent is trying to get stirred so that there's interest in this player.
Well,
Like
I don't
there
blame
can
him
be
because
values that can be found in January, but when was the last time that there was
You
a
gotta dig.
January transfer window thing that said that guy made a difference? When was the last time that happened?
so I could see Eriksson if he went anywhere. I could see him going to PSG just because Pochettino actually likes
He's
him.
been linked. Yeah, he's been linked to maybe reunite with Poch.
Yeah, him and Dele Alli, I could both see going, and that would be the thing. So both of those teams, who is it? Who's Eriksson playing for in Italy right now? Is it Milan?
Inter.
So Inter, and then Dele's with Tottenham. So both of those teams, I don't think would spend any money unless they can unload those players or loan them out. One of the two, get some money back, and then maybe they would look to spend money on something else. But yeah, for the most part, I don't think much is going to happen, especially with coronavirus. Like, who knows what's going on with COVID? Money's fluctuating like this right now, so it's a tough market to really predict. So
yeah.
Along with that, I think there is a lot of hype with with agents trying to kind of sell their players off, and agents stirring up rumors. Everton really wants Eriksson to try and generate some buzz maybe elsewhere. With that, I think there's a lot of that going on to hopefully create buzz for the players who will be free agents, obviously in the summer, to create that buzz, heading into the summer. And best case scenario, get a guy signed early, get a deal inked in January.
Because on the other side of that, Dele Alli, I would take at Everton every day. Every day. If that was
24, man. He's young.
I think that'd be a great fit. I think him and Richarlison actually might mesh really, really, really well. And DCL. Fuck. Wow.
It's so much fun. And then think if they keep Keane, it could be so much fun.
They could be so much fun, dude. So much fun for activities.
That locker room would have so much fucking clout between DCL, Keane, Richarlison, and Ali. Just so many Instagram likes floating through there.
Mason Holgate, throw him in there. Mason Holgate, dude. Mason Holgate's been just jamming. I don't know if you've been seeing any of his stuff, but he's just pretty much in his boxers all the time after every game.
That would be
Mason Holgate's the real deal.
No, he is really good, but that's just that's somebody that an Everton supporter would follow. I'm gonna give Mason Holgate.
You're absolutely right, Keegan.
No, absolutely. But that would be really, really fun to watch. That team, I hadn't even thought about Dele Alli at Everton, but that would be really good business by Ancelotti.
That's purely the Carlo effect. You don't get somebody like that if you don't have Carlo Ancelotti. But
yeah. Look at James, look at Allen, and that's the thing too. If I'm Dele Alli and I'm trying to get my head screwed back on, and I'm trying to kind of, not that he's has been or anything. Like you said, he's 24 and he's incredibly talented. I'm trying to lock in right now, and I'm trying to, get my footing under me. I want to go learn from Ancelotti, James Rodriguez, and Allen on how to operate a midfield. And then I want to have the weapons of Richarlison and DCL to pass the ball to.
And there's clubs besides Everton that can do this, because he also wants to play every day. Is he going to play every day at another, big club? PSG, he probably would, I would think, if he's playing under Pooch. But
I think he could.
But I mean, is there other clubs that maybe are more appetizing by the name, but he's not going to play every day?
Yeah. And I think England, just their national team, they want him to play every day, because they're better when he's good. He was at a time 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, he was the up and coming stud of England. He was the guy, and since then he's fallen off. He's not even looked at on roster spots anymore. So, but that's all I got for rumor mills. Olivier Giroud, I wish he would leave. He was linked to Juventus, but he's not going there. He's going to stay at Chelsea. Frank Lampard's not going to play him like he should, so it's good. We're good. That's about all I got. So
It's good. We're good. I only had a couple other things. Along with David Alaba being linked to Liverpool, which would be great. I think they'll probably put more time and effort into Upamecano from Leipzig. But with that David Alaba rumor of possibly going to Real Madrid instead of Liverpool, apparently, and this is just a rumor according to ESPN, Man City are apparently eyeing Sergio Ramos, who's a free agent this summer. So if Ramos were to set something up with City by chance, I could definitely see Alba going to Real Madrid. Along with that, with Ericsson, I've heard PSG. I hadn't heard anything about Everton, but I'm not as in tune with the Everton rumors probably as well yet. And
bottom feeders.
and I've also heard him linked to Ajax, where he kind of started out, and Wolves, interestingly enough. So I don't. Maybe if he gets Portuguese citizenship, he could go to Wolves. I'm not sure, but he a little bit too pasty to go there. And then Hamza Choudhury and Damari Gray. Choudhury's 23, Gray's 24, are two Leicester midfielders. If you've seen Choudhury, he's got like the afro midfielder. I've actually really enjoyed watching him play when he's gotten time, but he's really not playing a lot. Same with Damari Gray. I had really high hopes for him. He's an outside mid and can play a winger. He's quick, good with the ball at his feet. But they're just really not getting playing time at Leicester, and apparently they're looking to leave. And they've shown a lot of potential. They're young. I would love to see them go play for like a Villa or a Newcastle. I'd like to see them stay in the Premier League, or maybe Wolves again if they gained Portuguese citizenship. And then apparently Arsenal are pretty keen to sign Emiliano Buendia, who you might have heard of, Toby, because he is a 20-year-old Argentinian from Norwich. But he's made some comments that it makes it sound like he'd like to stay put at Norwich for now. So be kind of interested to see what happens with him. And then a little bit of U.S. news. Brendan Aronson is a center attacking mid from the Philly Union. That's a deal that's kind of been agreed on since October, a deal with RB Salzburg, but is now official. He's a 20-year-old. Great step for him to play for a team who's the best in their own league pretty handily, where he can kind of build some confidence. Also a team that competes in Champions League in Europe, and he can play against some really good competition where he might get his ass beat a little bit, but in like a constructive and helpful way. And great experience under a great manager in Stan Marsh, the fellow American. So along with that, apparently these are just rumors. Apparently Real Madrid has expressed some interest in Gio Reyna. And then Juve still interested in FC Dallas's fullback Brian Reynolds that you had mentioned a few weeks back, Toby. And supposedly they're preparing a bid. This comes after apparently Roma had sent FC Dallas a bid in December for $9.2 million. So
yeah, take it.
Can I just make one thing? You did say that he's the best coach in the world, Stan Marsh. You mean Jesse Marsh, because Stan Marsh is the character from South Park.
Did you see my eyebrow go up? I was like, what?
That's when you let it go.
Oh,
Podcast.
cut it, roll it back, rewind it.
We're getting South Park characters confused with soccer coaches.
Just walking with that wheelbarrow right now.
Stan Marsh.
Okay, let's keep it going. Let's just go on to the FA Cup real quick. Keegs, you want to run through them? You want me to?
Yeah, go ahead and take it away, Toby.
Okay, so FA Cup is this Saturday and Sunday. So there's no Premier League this weekend. Big thing, I mean, this is huge for the Premier League teams. There's a few of them playing in this. Mainly, the big thing is there was 40 COVID cases that came out in this testing period for Week 17 of the Premier League. So there's quite a few people that are out. So it'll be good to get that gap in time, so that way they don't miss any actual playing time. So the big games are Wolves and Crystal Palace. That's just kind of a bottom tier Premier League game, but for the FA Cup, it's good. Everton plays Rotherham. Aston Villa plays Liverpool. That'll be a good one. Man City plays Birmingham. Birmingham is where Jude Bennington is from, or came from, and they have a few other good talents. Jude Bennington now plays for Borussia Dortmund. Birmingham's a pretty good team. Man United plays Watford. Watford was in the Premier League last year, so they're going to have a lot to fight for. Stoke City is a decent side, and they're playing Leicester. And then Marine plays Spurs, and I'm going to get into that one a little bit later for my cheers. And then the last one that caught my eye was Coventry plays Norwich. Norwich is first in the championship. As of 2020, end of year, Timo Pukki had 11 goals in the championship with 13 total goals for the year, including Premier League. So, he's in rare form. Definitely brilliant to watch. So, Coventry Norwich is my game of the week to watch. FA Cup. Brilliant. And, Keeks, do you want to, real quick, FA Cup, what is it?
You asking me?
Yeah. I thought you'd want to give like an introduction. Don't know.
Well, yeah, I guess I did with the Scottish FA Cup or the Scottish Cup last week, 2 weeks ago maybe. But the FA Cup is just the Football Association's cup, so it's basically every professional football team in England competes for it. It's the oldest cup in the world in professional football. So it may not quite get quite the hype of like the Champions League, where it's a competition of all the best in Europe. But for teams in England, it's a huge honor to win that. So a lot at stake.
So I'm going to segue this instantly into my cheers. I'm just going to go for it. I'm cheersing Marine FC. They are playing Tottenham this Sunday. I want to say at 1:00. Marine FC is from the Northern Premier League. That's like right now, currently, they're in the 8th division of Premier League. So they're not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're number 8. But they can work their way up to 6, depending. But right now, Marine specifically is in the 8th division. They are the lowest ranked team in this whole tournament. To put it in perspective of who they are, their stadium has a capacity of 3,185 people. And of that, there's only 389 seats at this stadium. So it's standing room only. It's like literally being at a high school football game in Illinois or Iowa. Like it's a tiny ass place. There's one side of the place has houses within like 20 feet or 30 feet. I'm making that up, but I looked at the picture. It looked like 20, 30 feet. It might be way more than that.
20, 30.
They're within touchline that people will sit in their house. People will sit in their house and they will watch the game. Like they're that close. So it's nuts to think that they're in this. But my cheers is based on that team, and it's also based on Jamie Carragher, who I've fallen in love with through him being on CBS Sports. Like he's an awesome analyst. He's an ex-Liverpool guy. Dude, he's great at his job doing that. But because they're not allowing fans because of COVID at that team or at that game, they estimated the only game that would have been bigger than this for Marine would have been back like 30 years ago. I got this off Wikipedia. Would have been back like 30 or 40 years ago, and it's when they played the Nigerian national team, and they had like 4,000 fans in the stands. Like they had some large number. That was the biggest game they've ever had at that stadium. And then they've had a few big rugby games played there, but that's it. So this was going to be the biggest game, Tottenham coming to them, and they expected to lose like 100,000 pounds, which isn't much at all, but it is to this team and to the stadium as a whole. with renovations, like everything like that. Like they needed that money. And so Jamie Carragher came along and he's going to sponsor Marine FC. And through his JC23 Foundation, which is a foundation that he runs that they like pretty much do philanthropical things throughout all of England. They're going to sponsor the dugouts and the pre-match warm-ups with their logos and everything on it. So it's good for them advertising, but then it's also good for Marine FC because they were technically not making that much money, and they're doing some other stuff like selling scarves, and then they're also selling like digital books, kind of like as if you were to go and get a pamphlet or a handout at the game. You can buy those, and so it's kind of like a charity thing because most of those guys don't. Soccer is like what they do, or that's like their love, but they actually have full-time jobs. Like they're not professional by any means. So that's why this game's going to be just bonkers. I honestly don't think Tottenham's going to send. They're probably going to send their under 21s. I would assume there. Maybe like have Dele Alli play there because he's kind of a scrub right now, going to Everton maybe since Jack wants him. But that's about it. So yeah, that's my cheers. So I got my shot in on Jack too. So I'm gonna just go with my booze as well. And this is not a shot at Jack, but kind of a shot at Jack because he's been bitching about Peacock. As of yesterday, January 17th.
I've been thinking about Peacock too. Fuck Peacock.
Okay, well here, this is definitely F you to Keegan then, because January 17th, Liverpool, Man United got flexed to Peacock. It's no longer on NBC Sports.
That's not surprising.
That's my booze.
Yeah. Fuck them.
Yep. So there we go.
I'll retweet your boo because to be honest, I'm horrible with booze. And this week I don't even have a cheer either, so I'm the worst. But
well, can I jump in then? Can I jump in?
Jack's always got a good boo and a good cheer, so yeah.
All right. So my we're starting with cheers or boos. I'll do
whatever. Whatever you feel.
I'll do my cheer. So my cheer would be the Midwest Premier League. Give these guys a follow. New league that was supposed to start up last year is going to get started up this year here in the Midwest where we're from. So it's pretty much a bunch of UPSL teams that did not like where that league was going, or didn't like some of the it sounds like behind the scenes stuff that was happening in that league. And they started this Midwest Premier League, which is affiliated with NISA. If you're not familiar with NISA, NISA is I think at this point, considered third division within the U.S. pyramid, and is trying to put together a promotion relegation system within the United States. Awesome league. Started by Peter Wilt, who is a Wisconsin legend in the soccer world. So anyway, Midwest Premier League, give them a follow. Doing really good stuff. DeKalb United is in there. I just bought a kit from DeKalb United, which is really cool logo from being from Illinois.
Corn.
It's corn. It is corn, exactly.
Behave.
The Milwaukee Bavarians joined that league. So anyway, just really cool shout. Like they're really active on Twitter. I would just give them a follow and definitely follow them this year. Follow this club, support local soccer. Cool stuff. So
good stuff, Jack. You've been bringing a lot of the the lower tier U.S. system stuff in, and I appreciate that.
Well, so my boo is gonna also be about lower league soccer in the United States. This was breaking news on January 1st from the New Jersey Teamsters Football Club. Did you guys see this?
So is this like a labor union football club?
No, they're just called the Teamsters. Called the Teamsters.
Okay. I was gonna say we're going way back. We're going way back to the roots where the factory workers.
Shout out unions.
shout out unions, but no, to my knowledge, they are not an actual like union. I think they're just New Jersey strong union state type of thing. Is my understanding. So
they were.
So they put a press release out on January 1st, breaking news about a rebranding that the club was doing. So it's a paragraph long, and the press release reads: This year, New Jersey Teamsters Football Club unveil a new crest and spelling, and we will now be known as the New Jersey Teamsters with a Z at the end instead of
Oh
an S.
no.
The New Jersey Teamsters FC. The new look with the Z on the crest and changed spelling to represent the metro suburban environment of Bayonne, whatever that is. Bayonne, a peninsula city along New York City Harbor, and the club's deliberate campaign to attract Generation Z to U.S. soccer.
Hey,
So
we're not Brews with a Z and Belters with a Z for no reason.
Change all the accounts. Change. Hey, I mentioned at the beginning of the episode you can follow us at Brews and Belters. Forget the and sign. We're just gonna go with a big Z. Listen, I appreciate wanting to share the beautiful game with younger folks, but like, is that really what? Like, have a couple of your players make a fucking TikTok. As cringy as that is, that's better than changing it to Teamsters with a Z.
Teamsters with a Z for deliberately trying to attract Generation Z. And also, I'm just not a fan of Americans. I'm just not a fan of American soccer teams doing FC in general or United. Yeah. That's not our tradition. Like we have we have a city and a mascot. That's our tradition. Like I don't want to be England when it comes to local soccer here. Like we have our own stuff. I don't know. I just hate the FC. That's a personal preference. People can differ from my view, but like the Milwaukee club here, Milwaukee Torrent, which is I've been a season ticket holder of. They just did a rebrand and now they're Milwaukee Torrent FC. I'm like, why? Like,
because of the Washington Football Club.
I mean, I get like FC is recognizable as like you're a soccer team, so there is like marketing value there. But again, it's just that's a personal thing for me. I just don't think it's part of our tradition as Americans. We got to take ownership over our own traditions, but it is what it is. Yeah. So anyway, that's my boo.
Like it, Keegs. You didn't do any.
No, I didn't. I didn't have anything.
What about Belters? You got a Belter?
I do have a Belter, and it is Zielinski's first goal for Napoli this week. Left-footed, just ripped one, top left corner. Really, really good goal. When he's on, he's crazy dangerous. And Napoli. I mean, when Napoli's on, they've got so many weapons offensively. They've got a good back line. So yeah, that's my Belter.
Awesome. You got one, Jack?
Dude, I mean, one, I didn't watch a lot of soccer, and two, like the soccer that I did watch, nothing was Belter worthy. I don't know. So no, I don't have anything.
So
I'll give you one. I'll give you one that wasn't a Belter. That I thought about using. It wasn't a Belter, but it was an amazing goal. Can't think of his name actually, but there's a player from Bayer 04 in Bundesliga who scored a bike kick this weekend. So that was a highlight. Go look it up on Bundesliga's page. You'll find it.
So mine actually comes from that as well. I didn't watch this game because I do not watch the second division of Bundesliga. But it caught my eye for two reasons. One, because this is a freaking phenomenal goal. But two, there was 4 U.S. guys who played in this game. Gruther Fjorth, I screwed that name up, I guarantee it. And then FC St. Pauli. Yeah, FC Jack. Sorry, there's an FC in it. I know you don't like that. But
Pauli can do what they want.
But Firth won 2-1. So the reason why Gruther Firth, I think they're number 1 or 2 in the second division. But reason why a lot of Americans might know that name is because Julian Green plays for them, and he's a U.S. guy who's been on the national team for a while now. So there's 4 U.S. guys in there, but for FC St. Pauli, there was a goal by Texas-born Leon Flock. might have screwed that name up as well. So he came on as a substitute, and I want to say he's like 17, maybe. He's young, but anyways, so the ball was coming out, and it was at the 25-yard line. Maybe it was a ways out, and he just donkeyed it, like rocketed it. It was hip high, went in and just went like bottom right corner, and it was a belter. Like it was from distance. Like usually you see that by like the like African midfielders in the Premier League, but this is a fucking 17-year-old Texan with German parents.
Little
So
Yaya.
what?
Little Yaya Toure in him.
Yes, exactly. And he's from Texas, so he's born in America with German parents, so he's dual citizen. So he was on the under 18s for Germany and the under 20s of the US. So, but he's yet to play like for the actual top team for the US, so he could go either way still. Yeah, I wanted to send you guys this because it's a boomstick. Like it reminded me playing Tuesday nights, like going upper 90, top shelf in it. Like that's what this was. It was phenomenal.
Catching that volley just right, huh, Tobes?
Not too many things that feel as good as catching a volley just right. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no. Few things. All right, well, I think that wraps it up for the week.
It does.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in for week 3 of the podcast. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the episode, we're still working on a website, and you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Brews and Belters, all spelled out. And then on YouTube, we'll have the podcast uploaded to there until we can get it on Spotify and iTunes. And really after that, even we'll probably still upload a video version. And that's you can search Brews and Belters, and is the word, and you can find us on there. So thank you everybody for tuning in, and we will see you next week.
Click subscribe nonstop.
Yes. Do as the man says.
Let's go.
We good, B-Dan?